Hello everyone, my name is Gillie and welcome to this yoga practice. I'm so happy to be here today back on the mat making another yoga video. I know there's been a little bit of a break since my last one, and thank you so much to everyone who's given me a bit of a nudge to ask me when the next video is coming out. Well, here it is. I had quite a few requests as well, but the one I've picked is from @RebeccaKFit. I know she's had a lot of requests put through on my channel already, but that's because she keeps asking for awesome things. So today she gets her wish. We're working on a really deep hip release. Some background on why I love this sequence. I trained as a dancer from, almost more than 30 years, a lot of flexion and extension of the hips, but never really hip external internal rotation. And when I started teaching yoga, I noticed just how limited my movements were in that area. Like a lot of other Western bodies, we're used to sitting in chairs, sitting at the desk, and our hip flexors become really, really tight, which can cause a lot of issues with the lower back. So working a lot with the adductors and abductors, the glutes, lower back, but also the deep external rotator muscles like the iliacus, the psoas, also the piriformis. So just a few simple postures today. Working towards eventually maybe looking at postures like Lotus Pose. Do give them a try. I practiced these postures every day for almost 2 years before I got into that final asana. We will give it a go at the end today, but always just take these postures at your own pace. Stop at the point where it becomes too much for you. Stay there and breathe. I'll give you some options for that, but do let me know how you get on. I hope you enjoy this practice. You may not even need a mat today, just a comfy carpet, maybe a cushion instead of a couple of blocks. Let's get started. So the first posture in this sequence is going to be good old pigeon pose. You might prefer to do this posture lying down. I'll demonstrate that first, and then I'll show you a few options for coming into it the more traditional way. So if you feel like you're really stiff in pigeon pose, just lie down on your back, cross your right ankle over the top of your left knee, and just encourage that right knee to move away from you. We're keeping this right foot nice and flexed. You can relax here. You might press into that knee, or if you'd like a little bit more, you can draw the left thigh into the chest. That could be it. Stay here. If you're happy with this option, stay here. Otherwise, let's move into another option. Coming into our more regular pigeon pose. So starting from a table pose, we'll slide the right knee forward. Again, keeping that foot flexed, just the same position as when you're upside down. Starting to send that back leg straight behind you. You can release the toes or keep them tucked, and you can stay upright here. You might just look over the shoulder to make sure that that back leg is shooting straight out from the hip joint. Again, this might be enough. You might come a little lower onto the forearms or maybe rest all the way down. Now the aim is eventually to bring this shin parallel with the top of the mat. If the hips are still really raised when we find it, like that, we can use a couple of blocks to prop things up a little bit. So as you can see, your pigeon pose might look very different to mine. It might be still lying down. You might be hips all the way down to the ground, in which then you can start to extend your leg a little bit further. Or maybe you've already had your share of pigeon pose if you're already in that variation and you don't really need this stretch. So just coming into where it feels comfortable for today. This feels about good for me. So I'll just find a resting pose and we'll just take about 10 breaths just to enjoy this. There's a gorgeous breeze and sunshine in the garden today. I hope it's sunny where you are. I hope that this British summer is going to last for the whole of the summer. So this is almost bordering on a yin-ish type practice. We are holding the postures for a little bit longer, but we are working a little bit with the muscles today so we can release them slightly. There will also be benefits for connective tissues, fascia, tendons, ligaments. Just see if you can find a point in the stretch where it is intense. Intense so much that maybe you have to just remind yourself to breathe nice and deeply. Just a few more breaths on this side. You can always hit pause and stay here for a bit longer if you've got a timer. You could stay up to 4 or 5 minutes in this posture, as long as there's no tingling or tension or any pain or sharp pinching sensations. Maybe moving in a bit deeper for the last couple of breaths if it feels good. If you're still lying on your back, perhaps drawing that thigh closer or pushing the knee away from you. Last 2 breaths, deeply inhaling and exhale. Breathing in. And then breathing out, slowly using your hands to lift you, or if you're lying on your back, just extend both legs, give them a shake. Any movements or release that feels nice. Could be cat-cows or hugging the knees to the chest. And then just finding your way into the same posture on the other side. So sliding the other knee forward or taking that reclined version. Sending the leg back. Seeing if you can get that leg nice and straight. Perhaps choosing to go for that lifted option if you can bring that shin further forward. Just see what feels good for you. It's nice and squishy practicing on this grass today. And when you think you've found that sweet spot, just holding still. Perhaps keeping a little activity in the ankle and the foot. So it's not totally yin, we're not totally releasing. Again, we'll stay for about 10 breaths on this side. So noticing where the sensation is. Noticing at all if there's any gripping in this practice, or if there is, just taking a moment to see if you can soften around the grip. Imagine sending those nice deep exhales into those tight spots, allowing them to relax just a little bit more. Remember to keep the face soft, the shoulders, and the breath. If you find your way moving away from the edge of sensation, perhaps move a little bit deeper. We'll take a couple of more breaths here. And then we'll slowly release. Again, any movements that feel good. It might be legs straight behind you, or finding your cat-cows again, giving the legs a little bit of a shake out. Rolling across those muscles and the glutes. If it feels good on the ground. And then we'll find our way into our second posture, which is double pigeon. Or diamond or square. There's so many names for this pose, it doesn't make it any less deeply sensational. So almost like we were coming into that reclined pigeon pose, only this time we'll stay upright. Keeping a nice flex in the ankle and keeping the chest lifted, so the fingertips come behind you to lift the chest. Now for many people this may already be very deep, so staying here could be good. If you want more sensation, we draw this front ankle closer towards us, while at the same time keeping the chest lifted. I should be able to feel it nice and deep through the back of that right side of the hip and glutes. And if we want more, we'll start to walk that front foot over to the side, bringing the ankles and the knees towards each other. So I'll just scooch around so you can see this a little more closely. So we should be trying to keep ankle on knee and ankle on knee. Now, as you can see, it takes a little while to get into this one. If there's a lot of space between, you could always pop a block. I find it nice to use a block because it gives some downward action here that you can gently press and encourage that stretch, and over time perhaps you can move a little bit deeper. So we'll just leave it there now. We'll stay for a few breaths. Of course, if you're already into the full posture, both knees down onto ankles, you can start to take the weight forward and lean forward. So just coming into your depth. You may still be sitting upright, you may still have a block, whichever one is perfectly fine. I'd say to get from the highest point of the block to the lowest point of the block and no block probably took me the good part of a year, year and a half. So there really is no rush whatsoever. Just staying for a few breaths. Probably feeling this one a lot in the outer hips, more so on the right side now. So I'm lucky I can just stay here, enjoy the sunshine and the breeze in the garden. Let me know where you're practicing. So the same patience as the last posture. Steady breathing, calm mind. No need to get there any quicker than you already are traveling. There really is no rushing this. Well, I have so many birds around me as well, which is wonderful. as long as I don't get pooped on. Let's stay for a couple more breaths here. If you want to move any blocks, props, fold forward, see how much deeper you can get. So if you are encouraging with your hands, I don't really like to encourage deep pushing or pressing, maybe just a lengthening of the inner thigh and a slightly external rotation. Not worried too much about that gentle pressure as we're keeping the ankle nice and active. So the muscles in the legs are engaged. Last couple of breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Just gently release. Again, extend the legs out, whatever feels nice. Give them a shake, maybe give the hips a lift. Whatever feels good before we go into the other side. So this time taking the left ankle on top, lifting through the chest, keeping that nice flex in the ankle, and sliding that front foot a little bit closer. That could be fine. Maybe going to the next step if we feel ready. Just making sure we line up ankles and knees. So a lot of people call this one square pose. But actually, if you look down in the middle, you should have a nice triangle between the legs. Props are there, cushions are there if you need them. And the breath is always there to guide you. If it becomes really difficult to breathe and you're gripping and tensing, just draw back an inch or two. See if it becomes a little bit better. Sit with that sensation, and then maybe over time you'll be able to remove those props altogether. Again, perhaps there'll be an option to fold all the way forward. No rush to get there, finding your perfect expression of this posture. And that can change on a daily basis. We'll stay about the same amount of time on this side. Maybe you can use this practice as a gentle meditation. Just feeling the sensation in the body and allowing your mind just to focus on that. Hip stretches have a way of really getting to the mind. So we've talked about before a lot of emotions stored in the psoas and the fascia around the hips. So if emotions and thoughts come up while you're practicing these asana, it's totally natural and normal. Use that breath, nice deep inhales and long, long, long exhales just to let it go. Sighing is also good. Give it a try. The last couple of breaths here, maybe finding your way in a little bit deeper. Or just being completely happy and accepting on where you are in this particular asana right now. When you're ready, we'll gently release the legs. Ooh, give them a nice little wiggle, wiggle the ankles, toes, and again, we're not looking for any deep pinching, sharp or tingling sensations. Draw back if you feel like that. Perhaps a reverse table just to open up the front of the hip flexors. And then gently release. Next posture we're going for, Gomukhasana or cow face pose. So definitely handy to have a block or something to sit on, a cushion if this one is really intense. Excuse me, and I'll just show you the best way to come in. So coming into table pose, bring the left knee to the middle of the mat or the middle of the body and bring the right leg in front. So the knees and the thighs are together, the feet are open nice and wide. As you send the hips back, you can find a block to land on if you need it. We're keeping the feet really nice and wide, trying to land the hips between the heels. So if we don't need the block there, the hips should land perfectly on the ground. Slide the hips more over to the left side. This is to get the sits bones nice and even on the ground. Oh, we should be feeling that one really nice and deeply. Again, it took me definitely over a year of daily practice to get hips on the ground, so there's no rush whatsoever. Again, we don't want pain in the knees, so elevate the hips if there is any. Perhaps you can fold forward in this one. If you wanted to go for a little shoulder release at the same time, you could go for the full expression of cow face pose, reaching for your bind. But for me, the focus today is a little more on the hips, so I'm just going to let my arms and neck and head relax. Let's take 10 breaths here. If sensation moves away, perhaps you can go deeper. If it's too much, you can always lift out again. And then we can start to think about the transition to the other side of this posture. Yeah, we could lean forward and move the legs, but there is a more fun way which you can try and follow me through. If not, we'll just start again. Let's bring the hands to the floor, come forward, tuck the toes under and lift the knees only. Now your right thigh is crossed on top, so you'll walk your hands over to your left side in a big circle. Toes don't move, they just pivot. And we go all the way around to the other side. So the right knee slides behind the left. So we lower the knees back down and we come right into the other side of the pose. If anyone's still facing that way, it's fine. Come back into your table pose, cross the left thigh on top and come back into the same posture. Hips now traveling a little more to the right side of your mat. So we can bring the whole of that left sit bone down on the ground. We're trying to look for a tall posture. Feet can be nice and wide. Thighs eventually coming together. Maybe we're elevated and lifted on a block. Maybe we're elevated and lifted on 2 blocks. Any version is fine. See what works for you. And we'll stay for about 10 breaths here again. Maybe you're going for your full posture with the bind. Maybe you're folding forward or just sitting nice and tall. Let's take our nice 10 deep breaths here. Nice steady breathing, longer exhales. Maybe working on finding double the length exhale than your inhale. And maybe trying that sighing again. Yeah, certainly some deep sensations going on down there in the hips. Last couple of breaths here. And then I'll give you some options for coming into Lotus Pose. If this practice has been very intense and you're still working your way into the expression of any of these postures, maybe you leave the Lotus part for now. That's definitely what I did in my practice. Waited just until I felt very confident with the last 3 postures that we did and then gave this one a try. But I do want to give you some options just in case you're ready to go there already. So you can either hit stop already, now we move out of this posture, or just have a watch and see where you could potentially take this. Last deep breath in. And then exhale, we'll sit back, release the legs. Give them a wiggle and a release in any way that feels good. And we'll just take a look on how we can possibly take some steps on getting into Padmasana. So as I said, I'm just going to share with you now some of my favorite ways to come into Padmasana or Lotus Pose. And as I said before, I didn't even attempt this pose until I'd completely felt comfortable with all of the 3 asana we just practiced, our pigeon pose, our double pigeon pose, and also our cow face pose. So you might just want to watch this one. You might want to lie down already and prepare for the little shavasana we're going to have afterwards. Or just give it a go, but be gentle. No forcing, and especially no pain in the knees. If you're going to have it a go with me, come into Dandasana staff pose. Extend both legs straight out in front, and then just raise this leg, bringing it almost into like a cradle. So just a little bit of movement, mobility in the hip. You might bring the sole of the foot into the elbow, and the elbow around the knee. You can ground yourself down by engaging the quadriceps in this long leg and flexing the foot, keeping the chest lifted nice and tall. Next step is we'll look to bring the heel of the foot into the opposite hip. Attempting to bring this knee down to the floor. If it's miles away, you might place it on a block and just get comfy with allowing that knee to sink. Or if it comes all the way to the floor again, maybe you're just getting comfy with that position. If you're ready for the next step, we'll draw this front heel just in front of the knee. Again, that might start to add some new sensations now into the left side of the body, so you might want to get used to that. If you want a little bit more, we'll bring the block in front of that right knee and bring the foot on top. That's it. Maybe that's going to add a little bit of more sensation to the left side. If it feels totally comfortable, you can bring the foot on top and find yourself in Padmasana or Lotus Pose. Lots of variations that you can work on from here, taking the weight forward, seeing if you can bring the hips down towards the floor, or maybe working on your strength by lifting the hips off the ground. If that's really comfy, you can get upside down in your headstand, handstand, and start getting into this posture inverted. So see how it goes. Let me know, send me some pictures. See if you can beat my record of 2 years getting into this pose. Take any final release that feels good now, and then let's all lie down, find a moment into Shavasana just to completely rest and relax. So nice to be in this beautiful garden. So take a few nice deep breaths. Let your whole body relax, especially softening this area around the hips. Take the next few minutes just for yourself to relax and enjoy. When you feel ready, perhaps breathing a bit deeper. Finding natural movement, fingers, toes, or the face or the head. No need to rush, be gentle, and be soft and kind with yourself. Just continuing to move through anything that feels good, hugging the knees, rolling to your side. Eventually we'll meet in a seated position. There's no rush to get there. You might keep your eyes closed as you journey into that final posture. Taking the last opportunity to draw your focus inwards. Feel calm, feel comfortable, feel in charge of the pace of your practice. Lose any frustration over progress, especially when it comes to these incredibly tight hip muscles that we're targeting. Let's take a final deep breath in together. And as you exhale, let it go. Bring the palms to the center of the chest and lower the chin. Take a moment for yourself. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in this yoga practice. I hope you found it useful. Please let me know how you get on. Keep sending those requests for the next videos, and I hope it won't be so long before I get around to making the next one. Have a wonderful day. Thank you again. Take care. Bye-bye.